Mr. Blaine Hawkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, how will the government's forced confiscation of law-abiding firearms owners' property prevent criminals from illegally acquiring firearms from the United States?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in response to that, I would simply remind the member that we have made it very clear that these weapons have no place in a civil society, and so we have prohibited military-style assault weapons that have been designed to be used to kill people and have been used to kill people. But I would also advise the member, we will bring forward legislation to deal more effectively at the border. We will make significant new investments in both border service officers and in policing. We'll bring forward new authorities and new offenses, new penalties to deal with people who smuggle weapons across the border. We're also bringing in new regulations for the storage of weapons to make it more difficult for people to steal these guns and to deal with people who purchase them legally and sell them illegally. There will be new offenses and penalties to ensure that they face the consequences.
We're now going back to Mr. Hawkins.
The government previously has said that decisions like classifying firearms should be left to experts. The recent decision was purely political, flying in the face of evidence-based policy. A legal opinion that's already been obtained says that the bore of a 12-gauge shotgun with the choke removed is in excess of 20 millimeters. That means that every 12-gauge shotgun with a choke in it, with that choke removed, is now prohibited. That is the same firearm that Olympic trap shooters, Olympic skeet shooters, duck hunters, and geese hunters all across our country use on a very regular basis. So why did the government abandon evidence-based policy?
The Honourable Minister.
I'm pleased with the opportunity to correct the member. First of all, we have prohibited large bore weapons, a grenade launcher, for example, but the reference to the 10-gauge shotgun and the 12-gauge shotgun, I just simply remind the member that a 10-gauge shotgun is 19.69 millimeters in width, and a 12-gauge shotgun is 18.53 millimeters in width, both of them under the prohibition and not covered in the new prohibitions that the government introduced on Friday. I'm afraid his expert opinion is wrong.
Mr. Hawkins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The opinion is that of one of the most foremost experts that we have in Canada when it comes to firearms legislation. And if the entirety of the barrel length is considered, then the removal of the choke makes that barrel in excess of 20 millimeters. And I would appreciate the Minister clarifying that for law-abiding firearms owners. There is no plan announced for the buyback program for this policy. And law-abiding firearms owners are not able currently to surrender their firearms. Given this, and the fact that law-abiding firearms owners aren't committing any gun violence, what was the government's immediate benefit of making this announcement on May 1st?
The Honourable Minister.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to clarify. Along with the prohibition that we have put in place, we have also, using the Order in Council, established an amnesty period. But the amnesty period is non-permissive grandfathering of those weapons. They cannot be used. They can't be taken to the range for shooting. They can't be used for hunting. They can't be sold, and they can't be transferred. And so we have put in strong measures to ensure that these weapons will not be available for use. And we've put in an amnesty period to allow us to bring forward the legislation and a budget in order to effect a buyback program which is responsible, safe, and effective in removing these weapons from society. And I look forward to the members' support for those measures as we go forward.
Mr. Hawkins?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since January 1st, 2002, any law-abiding citizen with a firearms license issued to them by the Government of Canada would have been cross-referenced with a continuous eligibility check 6,695 times up until May 1st of this year. How many times was the most recent mass murder here in Canada checked against the criminal database since January of 2002?
The Honourable Minister.
Yeah, as the member's probably aware, there's a very extensive investigation currently being conducted into that individual and how he acquired his firearms. And it's not appropriate to discuss that, but I think what is appropriate is to recognize that these weapons, the weapons that this individual had available to them, are weapons that were not designed for target shooting or hunting purposes or any sporting purposes. They were designed for soldiers to kill soldiers. And in the hands of someone who is intent on mass murder, they represent an unacceptable and deadly risk to Canadians, and that's why we have prohibited them. I'd also remind them that other countries that adopt sensible gun control laws, such as New Zealand, Australia, and the United Kingdom, have also implemented very similar bans.